Noticed something off about the aesthetic design of this level? One thing that stands out to me is how forced and artificial the pipes feel. They just don't seem to belong, at least partly. This example isn't even the worst offender. Also, the pipes have mismatched materials, which only adds to the inconsistency. On a brighter note, some props are working well. I'm particularly fond of the park area and the bars. They seem to fit much better, but could use something. But what? Maybe we will figure it out soon. The reason I'm bringing this up is that I've been diving into environmental, material and thematic design, essentially visual design, or in the language of video games, art direction. I'm eager to keep learning and improving in these areas because I believe they are crucial aspects of game development. Although I'm not a designer and definitely not an artist, these subjects have piqued my interest. I also feel like I have an eye for aesthetics, I just don't know the theory behind it yet. I want to take a step back and return to the basics, starting from the Roman city or a street. I left some props that I believe fit well, but removed the more eye-catching elements, most notably the piping. In some ways, the scene already looks better. On the other hand, the piping sort of fits too. But why? Is it because the piping was too prominent, especially the highlighted area? Could it be the color or the tone? Is the added contrast and color added by the piping helping too? So add more contrasting elements to achieve the same feel and tone down the usage of piping? It's time to experiment and hopefully find out. Let's change the material to copper. Does it feel different? In a way, yes. The color fits better, does it not? So my hypothesis on them being too prominent might not be true. But before we continue, let's take a look at my mood board and the materials we have available, such as stone variants like marble, granite and limestone, dark and light wood, metals like copper, bronze and brass, the well-known terracotta tiling, clay. We also got a palette from these materials, and we want to follow it. This software I'm using for mood boards is called PureRef. You can get it for free, but please, if you have the means, give them what you can afford. You can choose the amount to pay, even zero. Quick intermission. If you're enjoying the video, remember to subscribe, comment and give a like. Now let's get back to the video. Let's dive deeper into the color palette and its importance. When selecting colors, it's essential to consider color harmony. Color harmony refers to how well different colors work together, creating a visually appealing and cohesive scheme. Without it, the result can feel chaotic, leading to an overwhelming and potentially disengaging experience for the viewer. One approach that stood out to me is the analogous harmony. This scheme involves colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, creating a smooth and unified look. From this we developed our palette, early brown as the primary color, burnt orange as the secondary, deep red as an accent, and brass, gold and copper as a metallic accents. We might end up tuning this later on, but we will see. This palette gives us a warm, muted tone that aligns well with the aesthetic we are aiming for. The closeness of the primary and secondary colors allows the accents to play a stronger role in drawing attention to key details. Interestingly enough, this palette somewhat reflects what we have been using already. We are pretty much missing the burnt orange though, so that is something we will have to experiment implementing into the level. Now I want to try change the benches to Roman ones and see how that feels. But do we have too much of a Roman influence now? Well, it looks fine, but what if we change the material? What does that do? Maybe red marble to add a bit of color? How do we feel about this overall? It's not quite working for me. Tonally, it's okay. We want muted colors, but the color itself feels off. Let's go back to the original material. We could try the burnt orange, but I have a feeling it wouldn't fit well here either. Even though the benches are beige tone and are lighter than our palette, that isn't necessarily a problem. Color palettes aren't absolute rules. It's okay to occasionally and mindfully deviate from them. However, when we do, we have to be careful to ensure the overall balance is maintained. In this case, I think it's maintained, but we should consider adding some additional elements that fit our palette into the park area to balance it out. But for now, let's move on to something else. Instead, let's try changing the material of trash cans. How about copper? This feels like a slight upgrade and I think we got something here. I'm happy with this change. It's a perfect use case for metallic accents. Copper fits nicely, and it's also familiar. Trash cans are often made of metal. Plus, with the pipes removed, reintroducing some metallic elements helps bring back that sense of balance. The palette's primary color is brown, but the shades we have been using are a bit too bright and quite frankly dull. To address this, I added the skin tone to the mix, which tints the brown slightly. The difference is immediately noticeable, as it brings the overall feel of the scene more in line with our palette. This change adds a lot of warmth and contrast without being overwhelming. It's a subtle, yet impactful improvement, and I'm really happy how it turned out. I feel like we have made some great progress, but there's still more to explore. Now we have a palette to follow, and the updates to materials have already started to bring the scene together in a way that feels more cohesive and true to our vision. It's all about experimentation, finding the right balance between ancient Roman influences and the industrial elements we are incorporating. We'll continue refining this idea of ours, step by step, until everything feels just right. The challenge now is to keep pushing forward and figuring out how each element can contribute to a richer, more immersive world. Stay tuned for more updates as we dive even deeper into the design process. So, see you next time.